Hello and welcome to Here's the Pitch, sponsored by Masses Restaurants in St. Louis, 5 locations. STLmasses.com is their website. Go there, look at those menus if you're driving through St. Louis, find out where they are. You'll love them. Today, I'm very excited. A voice you've heard for many years on the Howard Stern Show. Joining me today, you see his face. There's Gary Garver, everybody. Hello, Gary.
Hola, how you doing?
Good. I miss your voice. I miss you. I miss your interviews, but we can hear these now on your podcast. You're out in LA doing radio. What is Gary Garver up to these days in 2021?
Well, I have a radio show called Controlled Chaos. It's on kcaaradio.com. Also, it's in the Inland Empire out here in Southern California on 1050 AM and 106.5 FM. It's a show Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific, where I just talk about the issues of the day, have some guests on, and then I play some of my old Howard Stern interviews.
I was going to say, are you still out there antagonizing celebrities with goofy questions?
No. I stopped doing that about 3-4 years ago. I mean, no. And that was really mind-numbing doing that stuff. So I have officially retired this year. Normally I would go to a Oscar party or the AVN Awards, the Adult Video Awards in Vegas, but I have actually officially retired in 2021 from doing any effing interviews.
Why was it mind-numbing? Was it just having to go to these places and come up with goofy questions and people tell me a little bit about what made it just finally decide I don't want to do that anymore?
I just tired of being a part of the paparazzi and all that other crap, and just going down to there and being hassled sometimes. And I left the Stern Show in 2008, so it's been 13 years. But I was continuing doing the interviews just for my own personal stuff, and then I just decided, when COVID hit, it sort of was like a sign to say, hey, you know what, enough's enough, and just worn out from it. You got to retire sometime from doing that stuff. So I'm still doing radio. I'm still digging doing my radio show and all that. But no more interviews, no more celebrity interviews and asking crazy-ass questions.
So a lot of people come here to see kind of former Stern folks, and I always love to get the background of how you even start there. So how did you decide, all right, I'm going to send what I'm doing to Howard? What was the year? And just kind of give me the background of how you became associated with the Stern Show.
Well, I was working at 97.1 KLSX, which was a classic rock station in Los Angeles. I started there in 1988. And then I was producing the midday shows and, doing promotion, just doing all sorts of stuff, trying to start my career up. And in 1991, the program director, Andy Bloom, who's a great guy, you should have him on the show too. He can give you a whole history on how Howard Stern started and everything. He's really the catalyst that put it all together, along with him and Bob Moore. So anyways, in 91, Andy called me into his office and said, hey, Gary, I got a full-time job for you. You're going to have crazy hours, but I think it's going to be the #1 show in Los Angeles. And I was like, bring it on. So in July of 1991, Howard Stern started in Los Angeles. We were the first West Coast radio station to pick him up. He was only on in Washington, D.C., New York, and Philly. And we were the first West Coast station. And I was producing his show. I'd go in at 2:30 in the morning, prep the show, put it on reel-to-reel tape, call Scott the engineer on an ISDN line. And that's how it all started. And I would put together the rebroadcast. We would run it from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And within a year, we became the #1 morning show in Los Angeles. So that's how it all started.
So then you're doing the behind the scenes stuff, and then you go out and start doing interviews. Is where I obviously initially heard of you. When did that start? When did you decide to become a character almost on the show?
Well, yeah. Well, what happened in '97? Gary dell'abate put out a memo asking for people to go out and do celebrity interviews. He did to all the affiliates. So I called Gary up and go, hey, let me give it a shot, And he's like, okay, cool. So, what I would do is I'd cherry pick the events that was going on in Los Angeles. I mean, we have so many things going on in in LA, Hollywood. I mean, there's an event, 2 or 3 events every day back in the day. So I basically would, pick the event and I'd go, hey, do you want me to go to this event or this interview or celebrity? And they would say yes or no. So my first one was with Whoopi Goldberg at a book signing, which I actually found. I found some of my lost classic interviews, and I actually play that one every now and then. But started back in 97, October 97, did my first one with Whoopi Goldberg. And basically it just sort of snowballed. They liked what I did. And I'll give you a little behind the scenes stuff. So what happened is I'd go pick the event. I'd call Gary, hey, do you want me to go cover this event? Then Howard would say yes or no. Normally they'd say yes. And then what they would do is they would write me the questions. They would write the questions. I never wrote a question. I asked them. I never wrote them. And then they would write me the questions and fax them over to me. And then I'd go out there and do the interviews. And then I'd send them to Scott that night. So that's how it all started. And, it went on for a good 10 years.
I was going to say, I mean, did you ever look at some of the questions and go, how the hell am I going to ask OJ Simpson that or whoever?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I first started doing it. And me and my wife went to go, I was going to interview Evel Knievel at this boat show in downtown or something. I brought my wife, and you think Evel Knievel, red, white, and blue jumpsuit, all bravado, all that crap. And all of a sudden I see him, and this old man is walking with a walker. And I'm like, that's Evel Knievel. And I go to her, I go, how the F am I going to ask these questions to him? And she's like, well, don't ask him. I go, I have to. That's part of my job. So I started interviewing him. And it's a famous interview that I did. And I asked him, what's worse, jumping the Snake River Canyon? I said, what's worse, jumping the Grand Canyon or getting a divorce? He goes, what does one thing have to do with the other? It was the Snake River Canyon. Ask me again. I asked him the same question. What was worse, jumping the Snake River Canyon or getting a divorce? He's like, what's one thing have to do with the other? And then I go, have you ever broken your penis in an accident? And he goes, what kind of stupid effing question is that? Get out of here. So that was, there's so many more. But that was really the first time, when I first, the first year I was doing the interviews, I was like, how am I going to do this? And I just did it. And I just walked in there. I sort of had an attitude like a great white shark. Like, I didn't care, I just, like you said, just focused in on the meat and, didn't worry about the paparazzi because they hated me, because I was with the Stern Show. I'd blow their interviews or whatever. And we were pariahs out there for sure. Me and John.
What's your name? Bernie Mac, M-A-C. And what do you do? I'm a stand-up comedian actor. Okay. Yeah.
I was going to say the power of radio too. So I never saw your face till much, much later. I just found your delivery funny. I don't know if you worked on the delivery, but it seems like what I've seen of you, that's your there's no delivery. You're not working on a delivery. That was just the way you that's the way you talked, which I still think worked. The fact that you just do you ever fart in the face of a I know it's a stuttering John question, but you just had this easygoing delivery, so it also made it funny because John was doing his thing where he would stutter in their face, and you just sort of nonchalantly asked them.
I was sort of take a deadpan attitude. Like I just asked them, and then they'd ask me. They go, "What's wrong with you?" And who are you with? And blah blah blah. And then I just asked them the same stupid question, in the same monotone voice. I just was just like I never sort of broke out of character and got upset about it. That was sort of the key to it. It was just like just ask them, and then if they say anything to you, don't get all bent up about it and just ask them another stupid question, Do you? So that's how I sort of, it was, like I said, it was a great shark mentality. So I just focused in like bam, 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 and just kept it level-headed. And of course, we had some incidents that, where people grabbed me and, I got thrown out and people called me a racist and all sorts of crap. So, whatever.
Well, I was going to say, I can hear it in my head now, and I'm just curious, after you leave the Star Wars convention and you talk to so many folks there, but the Darth Nihilist guy, and the back and forth between you guys is hilarious, and then it becomes something that is just done on the show for, I don't listen as much now, but I remember, I'm Darth Nihilist, and you got into this argument with him. Did you realize when you left there, gold? I've created comedy gold.
I didn't think it was anything. I thought it was like the first interview out of the gate. It was at the LA Convention Center, and it was a Saturday morning, the 25th Star Wars anniversary. And I was like hungover. I'd partied Friday night. I didn't have a camera guy because Doug blew it. Doug Goodstein blew it because he didn't want to bring a camera guy down there. So I just like, I don't even want to go down there. It's downtown. I live in Calabasas, hungover. So right then and there, right before I walked into the event, I saw this guy, Darth Nihilist. I didn't know who it was. I just go, who are you, you know? And then, you know, the rest is history. But no, I thought it was just some crappy interview that they'd never play. I mean, I just never even thought it would blow up to what it did. I was shocked, to tell you the truth.
It's probably like Lennon and McCartney when they did, you know, I Am the Walrus. Probably thought it was crap, and then now it's. But I digress.
Yeah, I think they have a little bit more on me than that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was just like I didn't think anything of it, and then Howard just like loved it and played it, and I mean, I got calls from Ralph and all sorts of people. How many people love that? And I'm like, are you kidding me? I thought that was a piece of crap interview, but you know.
Yes, I did just compare you and Darth Nihilist to Lennon and McCartney. Just see, I just
stretch there, Brad.
I did that. What? So did Stuttering John have any issues with you sort of taking up interview time? Because this was his thing, right? But Gary sounds like I mean, you guys had different. I mean, Stuttering Vic came in and there was a stutterer doing his, but you're doing something totally different that he couldn't get to anyway, right? So that's how that worked.
Well, I mean, John was in New York and I was in Los Angeles. So it wasn't like I was competing for events against him, or, you know, they'd say, oh, John, we want to send Gary out or whatever. He was doing his thing in New York and I was doing my thing in LA. So it was, you know, and John and I always got along well. I mean, we still do to this day. Me and John are friends. So we never had any issues about anything as far as that goes. It was two different entities. Like I said, I was in Hollywood and he was in New York.
Yeah. You have a YouTube channel where you can see some of these interviews. I don't know if I ever heard this on Stern, but for the first time, I saw your Jack Nicholson interview on the golf course.
Are you satisfied with your career?
Very satisfied. Over and out satisfied.
What would you like to be remembered for?
My smile.
Hey, I'm getting nervous here. Do you think?
Don't get nervous.
Do you think
we're doing fine?
Do you think Paris Hilton is celebrated for doing absolutely?
How did he doesn't do interviews. I've never seen him interviewed. So tell me about that day, because to get him to stop that's an accomplishment.
Yeah, that was really cool. I mean, I tried to get Jack 3 or 4 different times. Never was able to get to him. He's like my favorite actor. It's my favorite interview I ever did. Besides him and Joe Pesci. Oh, Morgan Freeman. There's a bunch of them, but I mean, Jeff Bridges. I did so many, but Jack I really wanted to get because I'm a huge Jack Nicholson fan. I'm a huge Laker fan. You know, he was born the day before I was. You know, there's a lot of connection there with him and I. You know, that I just loved him. And what happened was it was an LAPD celebrity golf tournament. Los Angeles Police Department always threw a golf tournament every May, and they get these celebrities there. That's where I got a lot. Like I got Joe Pesci there and Eddie Van Halen and so many different celebrities. So Jack was playing in this tournament. I'm like, oh my God, man, Jack's playing. Let's follow him and see if we can, do something. So anyways, this was cool. He was teeing off on the 9th hole, and there's a big crowd around him, right? I mean, there's a lot of people following Jack. And a cop came up to me and goes, hey, you want to interview Jack? And I go, yeah. He goes, let me go ask him. They knew I was with the Stern Show. They knew because I used to go every year to this event. And they were really cool. 90% were cool. I got thrown out maybe 1 or 2 events out of the 12 or 13 I covered. So he walks up to Jack. Jack tees off and then comes walking right up to me. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, holy shit, I'm going to interview Jack. So that's how that interview took place. And it was because the LAPD hooked me up with that one for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy that he decided that he doesn't do that. So I don't even understand what even caused him to walk over. You see him just walk to you, and you're like, "What the fuck? I don't have questions. What the fuck?"
They had already told him I was with the Howard Stern show. Like the police officer told Jack, "Hey, this guy wants to interview for the Howard Stern show," and he went with it. He was cool and he did it. And you know, the one thing about doing these interviews is that the A-list celebrities like the Morgan Freemans, Joe Pesci's, Jack Nicholson, Jeff Bridges, James Woods of the world, they get it. They love these questions. They got it because they were always asked the same stupid question. How was it to work with so-and-so? And what was the movie about? And, you know, what are you wearing? And all this other crap. And then I'd be asking, you know, have you ever had anal sex? You know, or, you know, is penis size important? Or, you know, have you ever had gay fantasy? You know, so they love that shit. I mean, they love the difference of the A-list celebrities. Now, if you go down to like the C and D and below, they're the ones that got offended. And they were the ones that got pissed off. But the A-list celebrities, I got to say, were golden. And musicians. Musicians, athletes, and A-list celebrities were the best interviews. Comedians sucked. And anybody below a C celebrity, no good. No bueno.
Okay, but your OJ Simpson interviews are fantastic. He wasn't really doing a lot of stuff. Now he's out there a lot more, but of course he's on the golf course all the time, and you hide in bushes or something. So how many times did you talk to him? And there's one where he's not happy, right? I mean,
don't you wish people would leave you alone for the sake of your children?
You guys are not supposed to be out here. I'm going to make a citizen's arrest and take this stuff. You're not supposed to.
You're going to make a citizen's arrest on me?
Yeah, I'm going to take this stuff here.
Yeah?
All right, I'm holding you. Call, get the marshal.
Get the marshal?
We'll see who's wrong. We'll see who's
You
wrong.
going to get the marshal right now?
We'll see who's wrong.
You think there will come a day that you'll be vindicated of the horrible crimes of which you've been accused? We will, but don't. He's grabbing the mic. He's grabbing.
We'll see which one of you guys are wrong.
Let's play our game.
I'm just asking a couple questions.
But you're illegally here, and I told you you're illegally here, and you won't leave, so we'll wait till the marshals come and see what they do.
I just want to ask you a couple questions. Can I ask you after you're around?
You hear these other grown golfers telling you to leave us alone.
Please.
Come on, OJ. Just let me ask. Come on, man.
tell me about these OJ ones, because they're hilarious.
Well, me and OJ have a weird history. My dad went to USC. My first football game I ever saw was at the Coliseum with OJ Simpson. My dad took me to the game. Big OJ Simpson fan. My whole life. So anyways, he gets acquitted, but he gets kicked off the private golf courses out here. Like he used to play at Riviera Country Club. He can't, they threw him out. So he had to play public golf courses. So anyways, every Monday, me and my buddies would go play this course called Knollwood in Granada Hills. OJ played it every Monday. So we'd run into him almost every Monday. And he'd come up to us real friendly. How'd you play? How'd you shoot? How you doing? And then we're playing all right. How'd you do? Oh, I 3-putted 4 greens and blah, blah. He'd come, start rapping with us. So this is like right before I started doing the interviews with Howard. This is like 96. So when I started doing the interviews with Howard in 97, I'm like, I'd already talked to OJ probably a half a dozen times. Just talk to him, about golf or whatever. And I was like, I can interview OJ. He'll talk to me. He likes me. He loves me. He comes up to me every time he sees me. So I hit Baba Booey up. I said, "You want me to interview OJ?" And I'm like, he goes, "Of course." So the first time I interviewed him, I just asked him, straight questions, except for at the end, where I asked him if he had any advice for getting bloodstains out. And he sort of lopped his marbles there. But about 6 months later, that's when the fight went down, where I basically just walked up to him he was teeing off on the 17th tee box. And there was like a street, like a public street that you could park between the 16th and the 17th holes. So we parked right there and waited for him to come up. And he drove right up to the 17th tee box. And I just started asking him questions. And then, the famous one was, are you sharpening your knives in case you get remarried? And that's when all hell broke loose. He never wanted to do an interview with me again after that. I sort of blew it. I ran into him about 3 or 4 more times after that. And I just sort of harass him and stalk him and shit like that. But, it was great. And then the one funny thing is that when he got busted in Vegas, I went to his preliminary hearing and got a court seat instead of the court. And during a break, he looks over at me and waves me up, and waves me like this during a court break. I'm like, walk up to him. He goes, I heard you're not working for Howard anymore. And at the time, I still was. He goes, no. I said, no, I still am. He goes, got anything to say to Howard? He goes, no, but I listen to him in my Ford Bronco every now and then. And it was just like, and I go, well, good luck with everything. It was crazy, man. It was just like really bizarre. So, yeah, it was. That's probably my most infamous interview for sure, I would say.
He was such a strange man because obviously he had the world by the balls. He could do what he had to do no wrong. And then, I mean, it's like Bill Cosby, all these people that you see on TV and then they go on trial, and afterwards, you know, he's looking for a friend to talk to on the golf course. Gary Garver, fine, I'll talk to Gary. Shit, you know, it's so hilarious. Well, Howard,
it was really surreal. I mean, it was surreal. It was like a year after the acquittal. And, you know, just weird seeing him. You're like, holy shit, that's OJ, you know? And then he would start talking to us, me and my buddies, and we're just like, we would trip out. And even my friends, man, OJ really likes you, Garrett. I go, I know, it's weird, man. It's so strange. But, I mean, it worked out to my benefit because, like I said, once I started doing the interviews, I was like, I knew this was going to be gold. In fact, when Howard played, he goes, we have Christmas in October, you know, and it was really cool. So yeah, that's probably my most infamous one. Not my favorite one, but my most infamous one for sure.
and again, you can see this on YouTube. I'm sure that's your channel. It's so great. So check that out. Look I'll link it in this description. You did these interviews for a long time. You were paid by Howard, right? And then in 2009,
not necessarily. That's not true. I was paid by the radio station. Okay. I was paid by KLSX for producing the show, and that was part of my deal. I'd go out and do the celebrity interviews and produce his show. And I sort of cut a deal with that radio station, but Howard never paid me. I mean, the only time I really got paid from Howard was when he left for Sirius, and I got paid by Sirius Radio for a couple of years. But no, the radio station, Howard never dropped a dime on me.
But I kind of forgot that you were around during the Sirius days. So what happened at the end there? I mean, I remember things. You had a confrontation with him on the air, right? And because he said you were too aggressive or something on the red carpet. Give me the end of the time with Howard.
Yeah, I mean, it goes deeper than that. It was 2006, and I was sort of getting sick of being in radio, and I wanted to produce reality TV shows and stuff like that. And I created a reality TV show following porn stars around for like a day in the life of a porn star. And I pitched it to Howard TV and Doug Goodstein, and Doug liked the idea, and we went back and forth for 6-7 months tweaking it, me and my buddy. And at the end, and we had a meeting with my lawyer, conference call, where they were going to pay me a certain amount of money per episode. They're going to do 4 to 6 episodes, and then it sort of just went down the tubes. We even shot one. I took a crew from Los Angeles, and they took a crew from New York. We did it in Vegas at the AVN Awards, called it A Day in the Life with I don't know, JD was dating her or something like that. We were following JD and some Courtney Combs. I don't know who the hell it was. But anyways, I brought a crew, and I thought this was cool. I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna be a reality TV producer. It's gonna, because I knew that was the beginning of it in 2006. And my buddy, who was the camera guy and my producer, had shot a lot of reality TV shows. So we were like, oh, this is gonna be the start of us being producers and stuff. And then it just faded. They just sort of put it on the back burner, and it sort of really hurt my feelings, man, because I spent a lot of time on that. I mean, a lot of my time, and they said we had a deal, and then they turned around and did some of these episodes with Jessica Hahn and Bigfoot and Miss Black Howard Stern. And I'm like, wow, they took my idea. Not that I have a patent on it or whatever, but they took it and didn't even give me a penny. And I'm left with my dick in my hand, with these 2 shows where they could have, Howard was making $100 million a year. He could have thrown me, hey Gary, you know what? We're going to pass on this, but here's $5,000 for your time or whatever. I know you spent 6 months on it. Nothing. They didn't give me a penny. Nothing. And that's what really pissed me off. And that's when I was like, fuck these guys. They're fucking assholes. They took this idea. I've been a loyal foot soldier for 15 years, produced the show, getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning for 15 years, going out and doing these celebrity interviews while I was working. I'd go do the celebrity interviews, go home for a minute, and then come back, and go back to work at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I was working around the clock. And for them to do that, and Howard knew about it, because everything goes through Howard, by the way. Nothing does not go through Howard. He knows every fucking inch of his show or what's going on behind the scenes or whatever. So when they did that, it left a really sour taste in my mouth. I was like, fuck these guys. They just fucked me royally. And not only that, but they're fucking doing shows with other characters, and not even give me a dime, nothing. So I sort of self-sabotaged myself. Instead of saying, fuck you guys, I'm leaving, like I should have, I sort of just went out to an event and I created whole havoc because I intentionally did it. And I guess the public relations firm called Sirius and Scott Greenstein and said, hey, if you have this guy at any more events that we're doing or wherever on the red carpet, you'll never have another one of our celebrity guests on Sirius Radio. And that's how it went down. Then they said, hey, we got to let you go. There was a couple more instances before that, where I'd get pushed around and shit, but nothing really hardcore and heavy. One other instance, there's one online with this camera guy. But he created the havoc at the beginning and then, but listen, it is what it is. I mean, the bottom line is, I did great work for him. I got hassled. Nobody since has been able to do that shit out here. I mean, there's been no replacement, even though I think they've tried a couple times. So I'm not, I just felt bad that they fucked me. And that, and then that's when I went on, about a year later, I had a little podcast show that I went off and totally went off on Stern. And I guess he heard it and called me that morning, the Monday morning afterwards. And that's when we had the confrontation on the air.
Which is what he wanted, right? He loves that.
Oh yeah, basically he called me. I had partied at a famous Mexican restaurant called Casa Vega in Studio City that like all the celebrities go to. I mean, major, from Marlon Brando to the Kardashians to I saw so many. Anyways, I used to live like 100 yards from there, and I'd get wasted. I mean, it was like the coolest place to go. So I partied that night, and then like 5:30 in the morning, I got a call, and I'm like hungover, half asleep and hungover. And, Gary says, hey, Howard wants to talk to you, I'm like, all right, put him on. So that's basically what went down. And that's when he's like denying that he kept on saying, what's day in the life, Doug? And Doug came in and denied everything. And they denied everything. I mean, Howard acted like there was no day in the life. I go, you did day in the life. You did day in the life with Bigfoot. You did day in the life with Jessica Hahn, and he just totally blew me off. And that's when it was like, fuck you, man. I mean, listen, Howard put me on the map. I'm very thankful for my time with the show and my time at KLSX. And, I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today, which is not, it's cool. I mean, I'm digging what I'm doing. I mean, it's fun to be able to be independent, but I mean, he put me on the map and I'm very thankful for it. But I mean, I did give him a lot of good material. I laid my ass on the line for him many, many times. I was a fucking loyal foot soldier. And not only that, but producing the show too, and not fucking that up. It is what it is. I got nothing but respect for Howard, but I just don't like that he lied. He lied about what went down. He fucking knew about Day in the Life. He knew. Doug knew. If you listen to the phone call, in fact, maybe I'll play it this week, on my show. Doug even denied, what are you talking about? And I have 50 emails going back and forth with him and I, that I still have to this day. So.
Well, I get the sense if you listen to the show now, the Stern Show, you wouldn't be on anyway. There's no fun being had in the last 8 or 9 years. So. Yeah, people told me about the show, and that every now and then they listen to it. And he says he's completely changed. It's a completely different show and all that. I haven't heard the show since 2008. I haven't heard 1 second of it. But listen, it's cool. I still play his interviews. I still play my interviews. He's never gave me any shit about that. He's on the air every now and then, when he's making comments. So, I mean, which I really appreciate. That I've never had a call saying, hey, cease and desist or anything like that. So,
as far as I'm concerned, he's the greatest broadcaster in radio history. He's the Michael Jordan of talk shows, no doubt. And, I have a lot of respect for him. It just, the way it went down. And then, I just sort of felt like slapped in the face a little bit. Like, here I busted my ass for you so many years. When the FCC was coming down, I saved the Los Angeles license because they fined us $100,000. They flew in a lawyer from New York to show me how to cut the show up. And Howard would talk about it and rail on me on the show. And I was like, Baba Booey would call me. Hey, did you cut this out? I go, yeah, Gary. Call New York. Call corporate. I go, call corporate. They told me to cut it out. Okay, I just want to make sure, I go, yeah, call them up. So, I did a lot for that show. I laid my ass on the line, and it just felt like, it hurt me. It was like a slap in the face when they couldn't even throw me a bone, for trying to produce a reality TV show,
I get it. No, but that's, this is why I contact people like you, and it's just always fun to hear your voice, and just, I like to remember the people that kind of made the show fun, and you did. It was hilarious. Any other interviews that I know James Garner hit you with a cane. We mentioned OJ, Joe Pesci. Those are the biggest ones, right? Is there anything that I'm forgetting that is a good story?
There's a ton of them. I got so many interviews. I moved out to Palm Springs, and the good thing about moving into Palm Springs or moving into my condo is that I had to go through all my shit, and I found boxes of like cassettes and DVDs and all sorts of stuff. And I've been pulling some of this stuff that's like lost classics, like totally lost that I have never played on the air before. That I forgot to even, Rosie O'Donnell's a great one where she said I have the look of evil or something like in my eyes, which is fantastic. That's a great interview. Lamar Odom getting mad at me on the basketball court, and he was sort of loaded. There's so many, man. I could name a zillion of them, but if you want to listen to the radio show, I play them all the time. Controlled Chaos. It's on 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern on kcaaradio.com.
And you post these as a podcast too, right? Because I listened to a little bit. I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's on iHeartRadio, iHeart.com. In fact, Nicolas Cage, Michael J. Fox, Paul Sorvino, Regina King, Bryan Cranston. I'm just looking at Jeff Bridges. I'm just looking at the list that I have right. Jim Brown was great. Of course, the Darth Nihilist one. They're just getting thrown out at the Kirk Douglas, Dana Carvey event where I'm called a racist by somebody. They're just, there's also Dolly Parton where I get thrown out of there and they won't let me go to my car. There's so much stuff, man. They're just, and I also have a book called Radio Blows that you can, where I talk about how I started in radio with the Stern Show, and then my top 10 celebrities that I like and top 10 uncool celebrities. I think Morgan Freeman's a great interview where he kissed me on the cheek. Desmond Tutu. There's just so many. I can go on and on and on. There's hundreds of interviews that I did that are pretty well classics.
I was going to say, I was saddened that Martin Short wasn't more fun. I thought maybe he'd be able to play along, but he's like, what is it? What's going on here? I don't get, okay, well, I'll play. But it was a little more from Martin Short.
That was a shitty interview.
Well, here's the thing. I appreciate you doing what you do because, I did interviews for a long time, and I know what it is. You have to wait and wait and wait to get your little 2 minutes, and it just, sometimes it's not even worth it. But the fact that you would get these great things that happen, the one that I have on my channel was when I was 20 or 19 and Johnny Bench yells at me, and it was just a benign question. I really wish I would have done more of what you did and just got people pissed off at me because it's more fun than just asking, oh, tell me about the Big Red Machine in 19. Everyone, like you said, everyone asked that. So I appreciate what you did. I think it was fun, and I think they're funny interviews. And again, your work with Darth Nihilist is classic Stern stuff, and it will go down in history longer than you're alive, sir. This will continue. So just so you know, that's going to happen.
Well, thanks, Brad. Appreciate you having me on the show and being a fan. And it's very cool. It's a great run. I've got nothing but good energy about it, and I'm just thankful that I still am doing my thing after 40 years of being in the business. So yeah. I'm very blessed.
Thank
say the
you.
least.
Yeah. Well, it's a great Gary Garver. It was great hearing from him. Good seeing him. And again, you can find him on Controlled Chaos and just look up Gary Garver. I appreciate him joining me. And here's the pitch, again, sponsored by Masses Restaurants in St. Louis. 5 locations, stlmasses.com. Check them out. We thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.